Hello, this is Sylvester Smith. I am pastor of the Good Shepherd Baptist Church here in the city of Richmond. Unfortunately, we were unable to attend services today because of the inclement weather. I spent a fair amount of time this morning clearing the sidewalk, clearing the road to the truck, clearing the truck, and all of that, but I was unable to get out because the maintenance crews have not come to scrape the roads yet. But we are faring very well in spite of that. But I thought that since we were not able to get to service today, that I would at least try and give a short inspirational message to the members of Good Shepherd and to whomever else might view this. I wanted to talk for just a moment from the idea of longing for God's house, taken from Psalm 84, wherein the writer longs for God's house. He delights in God's house, and he blesses the pilgrimage to God's house. He lovingly describes the court in verses 2 and 10, and he talks about his altar in verse 3. He says he would rather be, quote unquote, a doorkeeper than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. He talks about that in verse 10. But the temple is not an end. It is a means to the ends of being in the very presence of God. Thus, his longing for God's house becomes a longing for God. He wants to be in God's presence. He longs for God's house, but he really longs for the presence of God. And while we are not able to, and we're not able to attend services today, our longing for God and to be in the presence of God is not something that we should have pangs of conscience about, because we know that God is everywhere and God is in our presence right where we are. So we might be encouraged today to take this opportunity to perhaps spend some time with the family. Perhaps go over the church school lesson, which is taken from John's Gospel in chapter 2 today, where he performed his first miracle in Cana of Galilee at that wedding where he was invited, where he turned the water into wine, a miraculous feat to say the least. This could be an excellent time to talk about God's miracles in our lives. Just these past few days when we've been bound to the house, as it were, because we couldn't get out, we've been miraculously blessed because for the most part, we've had no interruption in our electric current. We've had food plenty to eat. We've had all kinds of entertainment. We have creatively learned how to survive in the midst of what's going on, especially in large households. So God has really blessed us, and we are thankful for that. And we want to take the opportunity to remember that all things still do work together for good to those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And we thank God that in the midst of the snowstorm, in the midst of all that we've had to endure, that God is still God. When we look back on this storm in the days to come, we realize that God allowed this weather, God sent this weather so that this earth might be replenished in the ways that God only knows. And we thank him in spite of it. There have been some accidents, there have been some misfortunes, but in spite of all that, God is still God. And because of that, in the midst of what we're going through, we can still thank God. We can long for God's house in the sense of going to Good Shepherd, going to our favorite houses of worship, places of worship, but we ought long for the presence of God. And when we long for his presence, all we have to do is to accept it, because he is with us always. And we thank God for his presence with us now, and we thank God for his presence with us always. It is our prayer that as we move through these days to come, we will continue to look to the hills from whence cometh our help, knowing that our help still comes from the Lord, for the Lord has made the heavens and the earth. So until we see each other again, let us bask in the presence of God and look forward to worshiping once more in the house of God. God bless you, and please do have a good day.